Hey guys, tonight we step into the heart of New York City, but not the New York you know. The buzzing lights, the traffic horns, the steam rising from subway grates. Tonight's story takes place above those crowded streets, high in the sky where a strange new light begins to flicker against the stars. At first, you think it's just another airplane or maybe even a reflection from the glass towers, but then it moves, erratic, fluid, like nothing man-made should. It hovers. It disappears. It comes back brighter than before. You lean back, eyes straining against the night, realizing that you may be witnessing something very few people on Earth ever see. And honestly, you probably won't survive this story without a few chills. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, drop your location and the time you're listening in the comments. I love knowing where in the world you're tuning in from. Now let's get on with tonight's journey. It begins in early spring 2025. Manhattan is just shaking off the winter, and the nights are still cold enough to make your breath fog when you walk down Fifth Avenue. The city is alive, as always, buzzing with its usual cocktail of energy and exhaustion. But on one particular evening, something changes. You're standing near Central Park when you notice it. A light. Too bright, too sharp, cutting across the sky. Not a plane, not a helicopter. It moves in silence. People around you notice it too. Strangers stop, craning their necks upward. A couple taking a selfie suddenly forget their pose. A jogger slows to a halt. And then the light does something that makes your stomach flip. It darts, 90 degrees to the left, faster than anything should. A collective gasp sweeps through the crowd. Some laugh nervously, pulling out their phones. Others just stare, rooted in place. You pull out yours too, but the camera struggles to focus, the light blurring into an indistinct smear. In real life, it's sharp and deliberate. On screen, it looks like a glitch. As you watch, the object multiplies. 1 becomes 2, 2 become 4. They arrange themselves into a diamond pattern over Manhattan, glowing white with a faint bluish edge, like sparks from a welder's torch. Traffic slows. Horns fall silent. For once, New York pauses. Somewhere uptown, you hear someone shout, "Is this a show?" But the words carry a nervous edge. No one answers. The objects hold their formation for nearly a minute, a long, silent 60 seconds that feels like forever. And then, with impossible precision, they shoot straight upward, vanishing into the night sky as if swallowed by the stars. By the next morning, New Yorkers can't stop talking about it. The subway hums with speculation. On the 6 train, you overhear a woman telling her friend she saw the end of the world. A man insists it's just military drones, some new tech being tested. Another swears it was angels. But the most unsettling detail, hundreds of witnesses describe the same impossible maneuver. Those sharp, right-angled turns at blistering speed. No known aircraft can do that. The local news picks it up. Anchors smile uneasily as they roll shaky cell phone footage on loop. Strange lights over Manhattan, they say, like it's just another curiosity, no more important than a viral cat video. But their eyes betray them. They're intrigued too. Then the national outlets follow. By evening, it's trending across social media under Naj and lights, Dutch UAP 2025, and something up there. TikTok fills with edits, eerie music laid over grainy footage. X, erupts in arguments between skeptics and believers. But here's the thing. This is only the beginning. Because while New York has always been a city that never sleeps, in the spring of 2025, the sky above it refuses to rest as well. The first lights are only the opening act. What comes next will stretch from casual curiosity into national obsession. And tonight, you're right there in the middle of it, standing in Times Square at 2 a.m. when the second wave begins. You're staring up at the billboards, neon advertisements bathing everything in electric color, when suddenly, the lights dim. Not the ads, not the street lamps, but the sky itself. A glowing orb drifts downward, as if lowering itself from space. The crowd freezes. A man drops his hot dog. Someone screams. and you realize, with a shiver crawling down your spine, that New York's spring nights have just become the stage for something none of us are prepared for. You don't sleep much that night. How could you? Even if you manage to close your eyes, the image of those glowing orbs hangs in your mind like a ghost on the inside of your eyelids. By morning, New York feels different. The sidewalks are crowded as usual, but conversations ripple with the same theme. Everyone saw something. Everyone has a story. At a coffee shop in Midtown, you overhear two baristas comparing notes. One says she saw 4 lights move like synchronized swimmers over the Hudson. The other swears she saw 3 streaks straight up and vanish into the clouds. Customers chime in. Suddenly, strangers aren't afraid to talk. This experience, so unusual, has united them for a moment. But as the stories pour out, the details don't quite match. That's the first puzzle. A taxi driver in Queens claims the objects were triangular, glowing faintly red at the edges. A jogger in Central Park insists they were perfectly spherical and white-blue. A tourist from Ohio swears she saw windows, actual lit-up rectangles like portholes on a ship. And then there's the pilot. Late that afternoon, the audio leaks. It's from a commercial flight departing LaGuardia the night before. The pilot, calm but clearly rattled, radios air traffic control. We're picking up several unknowns about 1,000 feet above, moving erratically. The controller responds. Copy, can you confirm lights? Lights, yes, but they're not like aircraft, making lateral movements faster than we can track. The exchange spreads online in minutes. The pilot's voice has that eerie ring of someone describing something unbelievable yet undeniable. He isn't panicking, but he's not dismissing it either. Passengers from that same flight later post their own shaky videos. Through smudged cabin windows, you can see glowing dots weaving in and out of formation. At one point, one light seems to split into 2, as though it gave birth mid-air. By evening, the eyewitness reports have become a flood. Social media fills with first-hand accounts. A construction worker says the lights pass silently above his crane at 3 a.m. A group of college students in Brooklyn describe an object hovering over Prospect Park, so close they swore it hummed. An elderly couple in the Bronx recalls seeing something float low enough to disturb the pigeons on their rooftop. Patterns begin to form. Shape. Some call them spheres, others triangles. A few even describe cigar-shaped shadows with glowing edges. Sound. Most say silent, but a handful mention a faint hum or low vibration in their chest, as though the sound was more felt than heard. Behavior. Impossible speed. Sharp angles. Hovering with no drift. Sometimes multiplying or merging, and strangest of all, the timing. Almost every witness insists it happened between midnight and 3 a.m. It's as if the city itself had a curfew for these visitors. The skeptics, of course, jump in. Drones, they argue, advertising tricks, reflections from glass buildings. But those explanations don't hold up against the sheer number of witnesses. How do drones split into 2 in mid-air? How do reflections dart 90 degrees against the skyline? Tourists bring a fresh perspective. A couple from France visiting Times Square describe how the lights seemed to pulse when the crowd cheered, almost as if responding to the human energy below. A family from Japan insists one object followed their cab for 10 blocks, matching speed exactly before vanishing. The weirdest testimony comes from a group of fishermen on the Hudson. Out at dawn, they claim one glowing orb hovered silently over the water, lowering a faint beam of light that rippled across the surface. The fishermen described the river boiling for a few seconds, like something beneath was stirring. By day 3, official sources begin to weigh in. The FAA issues a bland statement. No known aircraft or scheduled activity explains the sightings over New York. Police departments report an uptick in 911 calls about lights in the sky. Even the mayor, asked on live TV, smiles awkwardly and says, "Well, it's New York. We're used to strange things happening here." But behind the jokes, you sense a deeper tension. Too many people saw too much. Something unusual really is happening. And as you listen to the chorus of voices, pilots, tourists, lifelong New Yorkers, you begin to notice another thread. Several eyewitnesses describe the same chilling detail. They didn't just see the lights, they felt watched. A woman on the Upper West Side swears she locked eyes with one glowing sphere. "I know that sounds crazy," she says, "but I could feel it. Like it knew I was looking, like it was looking back." And you wonder, are these things showing themselves on purpose? Because if so, New York isn't just a random location. It's the stage for something far larger, and everyone in the city is playing the role of witness. The stories keep piling up, stacking higher than the skyscrapers themselves, each one more uncanny than the last. And yet, even with hundreds of accounts, you realize this is still just the surface. Because what happens when the government, the military, and the experts are forced to acknowledge what thousands of New Yorkers already know in their gut? That's when this story takes a darker, stranger turn. The morning after the first wave of sightings, New York wakes up to a different kind of city, one that doesn't just bustle in the streets but roars across the internet. You grab your phone, and before you even finish scrolling through the first few posts, you know something has shifted. Your feed is a mosaic of lights in the night sky, shaky videos and frantic captions. "What did I just see over Brooklyn? Drones? No way, too fast. This is the end, guys." One clip catches your eye immediately. It's filmed from a rooftop in Queens, 4 bright orbs drifting in a line, then suddenly splitting off in different directions with impossible speed. You replay it 5 times, watching the comment count climb by the hundreds. Another post, from a cyclist in Harlem, shows 3 glowing objects hovering directly above the George Washington Bridge. In the background, you can hear honking horns as traffic slows down, drivers leaning out of windows to gape. The video hits 1 million views in just a few hours. The hashtags arrive like wildfire. Now UFOs, lights over Manhattan, unexplained NY, UAP 2025. Within a day, TikTok is flooded with short clips set to eerie soundtracks. Some users add glowing filters, exaggerating the shapes. Others narrate their videos in whispered voices, trying to mimic paranormal documentaries. A trend emerges. People filming themselves pointing to the sky, adding captions like, "Do you see it too?" On Reddit, a massive thread titled UFOs over NYC mega thread fills with eyewitness accounts, maps, and crude diagrams of flight paths. Someone claims to have compiled a spreadsheet of 300 separate reports from across the 5 boroughs. Another user posts a radar screenshot allegedly leaked from a friend at JFK showing multiple unexplained blips. The debates begin. Camp 1, the skeptics. They flood comments with explanations. Drones, satellites, pranksters with lasers, experimental aircraft. It's 2025, people. We have tech that looks like this already. Camp 2, the believers. They insist this is contact. Finally, disclosure is happening right over our heads. Some even claim to have been abducted in dreams after seeing the lights, as though the phenomena seeped into their subconscious. Camp 3. The undecided, curious, but cautious. They post polls like, "Aliens or government project? Vote below." Mainstream media picks it up by day 2. Local channels show blurry montages of glowing dots set to dramatic music. National outlets frame it with cautious language. Unexplained aerial sightings cause buzz in New York. One anchor smirks. "Well, we've all seen Independence Day. Let's hope this isn't a sequel." The audience laughs nervously. But the most fascinating coverage doesn't come from news, it comes from the influencers. One popular live streamer sets up on a Brooklyn rooftop with night vision gear, streaming to 500,000 viewers. He scans the skies, narrating every flicker and glimmer like a baseball commentator. At one point, 2 lights dart across his screen so quickly the chat explodes. "Clip it! Clip it!" His followers treat it like a cosmic sporting event. Meanwhile, a conspiracy YouTuber posts a 3-hour breakdown, connecting the sightings to past UFO waves in Hudson Valley in the 1980s, to Cold War experiments, even to Native American legends of sky spirits. The video racks up millions of views, drawing in people who never cared about UFOs before. Then comes the turning point, a video so strange it can't be dismissed. It's shot by a subway rider late at night, emerging from a station in Brooklyn. The camera tilts up to the skyline, and there, suspended above the buildings, is a massive triangular shadow with 3 glowing edges. It hovers silently before fading into the clouds. The video quality is clear, the angles consistent. Experts online rush to debunk it but come up empty. Suddenly, what had been chalked up as lights in the sky now has form, dimension, and weight. The frenzy spreads beyond the city. People in Chicago, Boston, even Los Angeles claim to see similar lights, but none compare to the scale of New York's event. The city becomes the epicenter of a global obsession. Memes flood Twitter, alien taxis, UFO-shaped bagels, even Lady Liberty photoshopped holding a glowing orb instead of a torch. Humor is how people cope, but beneath the jokes, the fear is real. You can feel the tension building in the air. The online storm isn't just entertainment anymore. It's pressure, pushing the government, the military, and the scientific community to respond. Because the people of New York are no longer whispering in cafes or calling hotlines. They're broadcasting their experiences to millions. And when millions watch the sky at once, waiting, recording, demanding answers, something has to give. By the 4th night, the conversation has shifted. The videos are no longer just viral curiosities. They're data points, pieces of a puzzle that scientists, meteorologists, engineers, and even amateur skywatchers are trying to assemble. You flip through TV channels, and instead of late-night comedians joking about aliens ordering pizza in Brooklyn, you see panels of experts debating in real time. A physicist from Columbia insists it must be plasma phenomena in the atmosphere, charged particles forming glowing spheres in unusual weather conditions. Think of it like lightning, but sustained, rare, but not impossible. A drone engineer counters, saying, "Look, swarm drones can do coordinated patterns now. Military demonstrations have shown formations of 100 drones moving like a flock of birds. What you're seeing is likely some test, maybe a commercial showcase, maybe military." But then someone plays the pilot audio again, the one describing objects moving faster than radar tracking. The physicist shakes his head. That's not drones. Drones don't split into 2 mid-air. On social media, science communicators flood timelines with diagrams. Some argue the lights could be ball lightning, though skeptics point out ball lightning doesn't hover calmly for 10 minutes over Manhattan. Others bring up temperature inversions, layers of warm air that bend light, creating strange reflections. A meteorologist posts a thread claiming the city's unusual humidity that week might have bent light from aircraft into bizarre shapes. The replies come fast. Humidity doesn't make triangles. Cool story, bro, but I saw it hover outside my window. Explain the blackout over the Hudson, then. The scientific back and forth only fuels the frenzy. Instead of calming the public, it makes people more suspicious. Every explanation feels stretched, fragile, or incomplete. At a press conference, a NASA representative tries to sound reassuring. "We've reviewed footage, and nothing suggests extraterrestrial origin. These sightings could be experimental drones or atmospheric events not yet fully understood." A reporter asks bluntly, "So, you're saying you don't know?" The NASA official pauses too long before replying. The silence says more than the words. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers take matters into their own hands. With telescopes and tracking apps, they record precise times, altitudes, and coordinates. One enthusiast in Staten Island claims he caught a glowing sphere through a telescope lens, and in the image, the object appears to have hexagonal panels, as though it were constructed. That image spreads like wildfire. Was it real? Or was it a clever Photoshop job dropped into the frenzy? The uncertainty only deepens the mystery. And then there are the whistleblowers. An anonymous account on X, claiming to be a defense contractor, posts cryptic messages. They've been flying for years. You're only seeing them now because they want you to. Another alleged insider claims the objects are part of Project Sentinel, a top-secret surveillance system. The post gets deleted within hours, but screenshots flood Reddit. Scientists groan, conspiracists cheer. The average New Yorker? They just keep looking up. At Columbia University, a late-night panel discussion turns surreal. A psychologist on the panel asks the audience, "Why do we want them to be aliens? Why do we choose that explanation over all others?" You realize that's the crux of it. The science isn't just about explaining the lights. It's about explaining us. Why humans prefer mystery over certainty, wonder over dismissal. But even as the experts argue, the phenomena refuse to fit neatly into any category. Weather doesn't explain synchronized movements. Drones don't explain silent hovering for hours. And psychology doesn't explain thousands of people recording the same thing at the same time. By the end of that week, the scientific community is divided into two camps. The explainers, those who cling to natural or human-made answers, however stretched. The open-minded, those who cautiously admit, "We don't know what this is." And in New York, where skyscrapers scrape the heavens and science is woven into the city's DNA, that admission feels bigger than anything else. Because if the experts can't explain it, then maybe, just maybe, the truth isn't something science is ready to face. And that's when the military decides to step in. The rumors begin quietly. A few scattered posts from night owls claim they saw fighter jets streaking low over the Hudson at 2 in the morning. At first, people laugh it off. After all, military jets aren't a rare sight in New York. But then the videos appear. One shaky clip, filmed from a high-rise balcony in Jersey City, captures it unmistakably. The roar of engines cutting across the skyline, 2 F-16s banking hard and heading north. In the background, glowing orbs hover motionless, indifferent to the jets chasing them. The contrast is unsettling. Machines of war roaring furiously, while the unknown objects drift silently, almost lazily. By morning, the headlines confirm it. Air National Guard scrambles jets after unidentified sightings. It's official now. The military isn't just aware, they're reacting. You listen to leaked ATC chatter spreading online, supposedly between radar operators and the pilots themselves. The voices are clipped, professional, but tinged with disbelief. Target at 3 o'clock, altitude 12,000, moving erratically. Copy. Locking radar, negative lock. The system won't hold. Visual contact, object just accelerated vertically, speed unknown. In one chilling moment, a pilot reports, "They're surrounding us. I count 6." Then static. The Pentagon, as expected, issues a carefully worded statement. Routine training exercise, no cause for alarm. But the footage makes denial impossible. F-16s don't scramble at 2 in the morning to train over New York City. Residents across Manhattan describe windows rattling as jets thunder overhead. Some even claim they saw the fighters chasing glowing objects, only for the objects to dart away at angles no jet could follow. An amateur radio enthusiast in Brooklyn uploads recordings of encrypted military chatter intercepted during the chase. The words are fragmentary, but phrases like fast movers, no heat signature, and impossible climb stand out. What unsettles people most isn't just the chase, it's the failure. Normally, fighter jets symbolize control, dominance, human mastery of the skies. But in these encounters, the jets come across as clumsy predators chasing something that isn't prey. Every video ends the same way, the orbs streaking out of sight, leaving the jets roaring helplessly behind. And then comes the radar leak. A technician, posting anonymously, claims radar screens at a nearby base recorded objects performing maneuvers at Mach 12, 12 times the speed of sound. Not only that, but the objects appeared and disappeared at will, as if phasing in and out of existence. Was it real? Fabricated? The internet tears itself apart debating, but the sheer specificity, the numbers, the coordinates, make it harder to dismiss. Eyewitnesses on the ground add more eerie details. In Yonkers, a family swears they saw 3 F-16s pursuing a glowing orb when the orb suddenly vanished. Not faded, not sped away, but simply winked out like a candle. The jets circled aimlessly before departing. In Staten Island, a jogger claims he watched a dogfight of sorts. Jets chasing orbs, orbs circling back around the jets, almost teasing them, like dolphins toying with sharks. And in the Bronx, dozens of residents describe hearing a strange low hum ripple across the neighborhood as jets engaged overhead. Some say the sound wasn't from the aircraft at all, but from the lights themselves. The military response only escalates speculation. If this was a hoax, why scrambled jets? If this was drones, why couldn't radar lock on? If this was foreign tech, why weren't the jets able to intercept? The questions multiply, but one truth becomes clear. The skies over New York are no longer controlled by humans. And the most unnerving realization? The unknown craft seem to be playing by their own rules, appearing when they want, vanishing when they choose, and effortlessly outmaneuvering America's best machines of war. The city, already tense, grows electric. You can feel it on the subway, hear it in cafes, see it in the eyes of strangers staring upward at night. Something profound is happening, something that forces even the most skeptical to wonder. And as more people gather in parks and rooftops, scanning the skies with binoculars and phones, a new question emerges. If the orbs are aware of the jets and aware of us, what are they waiting for? The heart of New York is the city, but the soul of mystery often lies just outside it. By late spring, the Hudson Valley becomes the new epicenter of the surge. Quiet towns, Beacon, Cold Spring, Rhinebeck, suddenly find themselves at the center of a phenomenon that feels almost orchestrated. It begins with scattered reports. A farmer in Pine Plains swears that a glowing triangle hovered over his field before vanishing without sound. A group of hikers in Minnewaska State Park capture footage of 4 orbs hovering in perfect formation above the ridgeline. And in Poughkeepsie, entire blocks of residents claim their power flickered at the exact same moment a blinding flash lit the sky. But what makes this phase different is not just the sightings, it's their synchronization. On a chilly April night, multiple towns across the Hudson Valley report the exact same event within minutes of one another. In Newburgh, dozens of witnesses describe 3 glowing spheres aligned in a triangle, hovering silently for nearly 20 minutes before ascending straight up. At the same time in Kingston, 40 miles north, residents describe the same 3 orbs, in the same formation, performing the same maneuver. And in a sleepy hamlet outside Hudson, a retired schoolteacher calls into a local radio station, her voice trembling. "They were there, right above my barn. 3 lights, white, blue, brighter than the stars. I don't care if no one believes me. I know what I saw." The sheer number of overlapping accounts makes this harder to dismiss. Local news stations begin running nightly UFO update segments. Reporters try to keep it lighthearted, smiling nervously as they interview eyewitnesses. But the consistency of detail is undeniable. One clip from a Beacon town hall captures the growing unease. "We all saw the same thing," a man shouts from the back. "We're not crazy. They're here." Social media explodes with speculation, memes, and shaky videos tagged Hudson Valley UFO. But among the noise, certain clips stand out. One particularly haunting video, filmed near Bear Mountain Bridge, shows the orbs reflected in the Hudson River, perfect glowing spheres shimmering on the water's surface. As the witness pans upward, the lights begin to rotate, forming a slow, deliberate circle before darting off in opposite directions. Experts later note that the maneuver resembled a coordinated formation break, the kind used in military flight drills. Except, of course, no known aircraft can accelerate that fast, at that angle, without sound. Perhaps the most unnerving accounts come from children. In Cold Spring, a group of elementary school students on a camping trip report seeing stars that moved. Their drawings, later shared by teachers, show eerily similar images. 3 glowing orbs hovering above a line of trees. One child scrawls a note at the bottom of his paper. "They were watching us." The synchronized nature of these sightings sparks a chilling theory among researchers. This is no random occurrence. Dr. Amelia Graves, a UFO historian interviewed on a late-night podcast, puts it bluntly. Either we are dealing with an unprecedented mass hallucination, or we are witnessing an intelligence that wants to be seen and wants to be seen in multiple places at once. Her words resonate. For the first time, the phenomenon begins to feel less like isolated chance encounters and more like a message. Local governments quietly take notice. In Ulster County, a sheriff's deputy is overheard warning residents to stay off back roads after dark. In Dutchess County, strange low-flying helicopters are spotted canvassing the skies late at night, their searchlights sweeping empty fields. Some whisper that the military is already here, embedded quietly in these small towns, monitoring the situation from the shadows. And then comes the story that cements the Hudson Valley as ground zero. A group of kayakers, paddling near Bannerman's Castle on the Hudson River, witness what they describe as a descending column of light. It shines directly onto the water, illuminating the castle ruins in a surreal glow. The kayakers panic, paddling furiously toward shore. But one admits afterward, "For a second, I felt like it wanted me to come closer." By now, the question is no longer whether people are seeing something. It's why here? Why now? The Hudson Valley, long known for its scenic beauty and Revolutionary War history, has suddenly become the stage for something far stranger. And as more and more reports pour in, triangular lights, humming sounds, synchronized appearances across towns, the feeling grows that whatever intelligence is behind this is closing in. The Hudson Valley may be the countryside's stage, but New York City is its spotlight. If strange lights in the night sky over barns and rivers can be dismissed as rural oddities, then unexplained sightings in the most crowded metropolis in America cannot. And that's exactly what begins to happen. It starts in Brooklyn on a humid June evening. Thousands of people gather along the East River for a summer concert. The skyline glitters. Boats drift lazily on the water. Then, just as fireworks crackle above the crowd, a formation of 3 glowing orbs hovers silently above the Williamsburg Bridge. Phones go up. The audience gasps. At first, some think it's part of the show. But when the orbs shift formation, snapping into a perfect straight line, then splitting apart at impossible speed, the crowd erupts into chaos. Videos flood TikTok and Instagram in real time. Within minutes, millions around the world are watching. Across the city, similar stories emerge. In Queens, a taxi driver on the Long Island Expressway slams his brakes when a silvery, disc-shaped object darts low across the highway, casting a brilliant flash that leaves a lingering hum in the air. In the Bronx, an elderly couple looking out from their high-rise balcony describe a shimmering shape, like heat rising off pavement, except it was floating 20 stories up. And in Central Park, a jogger claims he was followed for nearly 10 minutes by a pulsating blue light that weaved silently between the trees, never touching the ground. The most chilling case comes from inside a Manhattan subway tunnel. Late one night, maintenance workers report seeing a glowing sphere the size of a basketball floating down the darkened tracks. It moves slowly, as though scanning the tunnel walls. When the workers shine their flashlights, the sphere vanishes, but not before their equipment fails, plunging them into silence and darkness. One of the men later tells a reporter, "It wasn't a machine. It was aware of us. That's the part that scared me most." The sheer density of sightings makes the phenomenon impossible to ignore. News outlets now cover it daily. Late-night comedians crack jokes about aliens who can't afford Manhattan rent. But the humor is thin. Deep down, the city feels it. Something unnatural is weaving itself into their nights. Theories run wild. Some argue these lights are drones, but what drones move in perfect silence, accelerate faster than any jet, and vanish in a blink? Others suggest government tech tests, though no agency claims responsibility. Conspiracy boards fill with chatter. Maybe it's an experiment in mass perception, maybe holograms, maybe a soft disclosure of extraterrestrial contact. But there is one detail witnesses keep repeating: the silence. Unlike helicopters or planes, these objects make no sound. No roar of engines, no whir of rotors. Just the heavy, uncanny stillness of a city holding its breath. Then comes the incident that pushes the story beyond rumor. On a crisp July evening, as the sun dips behind the Hudson, Pilots approaching LaGuardia Airport radio in an unusual report. 3 glowing objects hovering at 10,000 feet, unmoving, directly in the flight path. Air traffic control scrambles, rerouting incoming planes. For nearly half an hour, the objects remain fixed, ignoring wind and gravity, before vanishing simultaneously. The FAA refuses to comment, but leaked transcripts confirm what's already obvious. The phenomenon is interfering with commercial aviation. In the days that follow, New Yorkers notice subtle changes. Black SUVs parked along side streets, military helicopters circling high above the skyline, rumors of unmarked vans stationed near subway hubs. The city whispers. Some say the government is monitoring. Others say they're just as clueless as everyone else. But there's one observation harder to shake. The sightings aren't random. They seem to converge, appearing near crowds, landmarks, and points of human activity, as if whoever or whatever controls them wants to be noticed. By now, the narrative is shifting. This isn't just a rural mystery anymore. It's not just blurry lights in the woods. The phenomenon has entered the beating heart of America's largest city, where millions of eyes can see it, film it, and demand answers. And if the Hudson Valley felt like a stage for subtle signals, then New York City feels like a declaration. The watchers are no longer hiding. They're here, in the streets, above the rivers, between the skyscrapers. And whether you're walking your dog in Queens, riding the subway in Manhattan, or gazing out from a Brooklyn rooftop, you can't shake the thought, they're watching you back. By midsummer, the sightings have become too big to dismiss. It isn't just a few scattered witnesses or shaky phone videos anymore. It's commuters, airline pilots, concert-goers, tourists, tens of thousands of people across New York reporting the same impossible things. And yet, from the people in charge, silence. At first, local officials try to brush it off. The NYPD issues a brief statement about unidentified aerial objects under review. The FAA makes a vague reference to routine flight anomalies. But when reporters press harder, they get canned replies or worse, stone-cold no comment. The press conferences feel surreal. You watch a journalist hold up a video showing 3 luminous discs hovering above the Hudson River, crystal clear against the night sky. The official at the podium squints, shifts papers, and mumbles something about drone mice identification. It's insulting. The crowd knows it, the city knows it, and deep down, you know it too. The silence is louder than the answers. It doesn't take long before conspiracy boards and late-night news segments begin to frame the question differently. Not, what are these things, but why won't they tell us? Some argue the government simply doesn't know. That is the most unnerving idea, that these objects are in the skies above America, our largest city, and the people tasked with protecting you are just as confused. Others insist the silence is strategy. If they admit ignorance, they risk panic. If they admit knowledge, they risk revealing secrets meant to stay buried. Either way, silence becomes safer. Still, there are cracks. Leaked air traffic control transcripts reveal FAA staff frantically rerouting planes away from glowing objects above LaGuardia and JFK. Anonymous insiders claim NORAD has flagged unusual radar returns hovering over the Hudson Valley, blips that appear and vanish faster than anything man-made. On late-night radio, a trembling caller claims he's an Air National Guard mechanic. They've scrambled jets more times this summer than in the past 5 years, and it isn't for training. The public grows restless. Protesters gather outside City Hall holding homemade signs. Tell us the truth. Who watches the skies? And cheekily, aliens pay rent too. Petitions circulate online demanding congressional hearings. Talk show hosts bait politicians into awkward smiles and dodges. Polls show that a record number of Americans now believe UFOs are not only real, but present, here, now. And through it all, the officials keep their lips sealed. But there's one gesture, subtle and chilling, that speaks louder than any press release. In August, you notice a change in the skies above Manhattan. Military jets begin flying routine patterns, not the occasional roar of a fighter cutting across the horizon, but regular circuits. Always high, always watchful, always circling. The jets are F-16s. The message is quiet but unmistakable. The government may not speak, but they are watching, tracking, and perhaps preparing. It feels strange, doesn't it? To live in a city of millions, under the constant buzz of lights, screens, and chatter, and still feel like the most important things are hidden in silence. The government's refusal to answer leaves you with a choice. Trust their quiet watchfulness, or assume the truth is too dangerous to tell. And in that choice, the fear grows. Because silence can mean two things. It can mean control, or it can mean chaos. And you can shake the suspicion that the silence covering New York tonight isn't protecting you. It is protecting someone else. The silence from officials doesn't stop the noise from the streets. If anything, it amplifies it. By early September, the UFO surge isn't just a mystery, it's a cultural event. You can feel it in coffee shops, subway cars, rooftop bars. Everyone has a theory. Everyone knows someone who saw something. And in a city where culture shifts fast, the mystery seeps into everything. Fashion picks it up first. Streetwear brands start printing hoodies with glowing saucers over the Empire State Building. A boutique in Soho sells silver hats labeled anti-abduction gear. On TikTok, teens wear alien green makeup, blinking lights painted on their cheeks, tagging it with Tao Nai Kufo. What was once frightening starts to feel stylish. Then the music scene jumps in. A Brooklyn DJ releases a track that layers distorted pilot radio chatter over deep bass, calling it Hudson Frequency. Indie bands slip UFO references into their lyrics. One viral street performance features dancers painted metallic, moving in stuttered, jerky motions like the craft seen darting across the Hudson. Late-night comedy shows can't resist either. You hear a host joke. If aliens came to New York, they'd leave immediately after seeing The Rent. The audience roars with laughter, but behind the laughter, there's that little thread of tension. Because beneath the humor lies a whisper. What if it's not a joke? Social media turns the sightings into mythology. Threads of speculation spin endless webs. It's foreign tech being tested over U.S. soil. The government is staging a fake invasion. They've always been here. We just finally noticed. Videos of blurry lights get remixed, overlaid with dramatic soundtracks, captions like, "They're here," flashing in bold fonts. Others turn to satire, memes of pigeons wearing alien masks, rats in UFO cockpits flying down subway tunnels. The city laughs, but the laughter feels nervous. Meanwhile, spiritual circles frame the lights as a sign. New Age groups in Central Park host nightly meditations, trying to communicate with the visitors. Self-proclaimed prophets post cryptic warnings about the end of an age. On YouTube, live streams titled "Contact Tonight in Brooklyn" pull in thousands of viewers. For some, the sightings are terrifying. For others, they're liberating. Proof the universe is bigger than the grind of 9 to 5, bigger than politics, bigger than the claustrophobic weight of city life. And then come the conspiracy theories, louder than ever. Podcasters link the surge to secret underground bases beneath the Catskills. Others insist the objects are part of a slow acclimatization program, preparing humans for open contact. One viral theory suggests the blackout over Brooklyn 2 weeks earlier wasn't an accident at all. It was a deliberate attempt to cover up a landing. You scroll through comments under every video. They've been lying to us since Roswell. I saw one above the Bronx. It moved like nothing human. This isn't new. It's disclosure. The lines between fact, fiction, and fantasy blur until they're indistinguishable. But here's the thing. While memes spread and fashion adapts, the tension doesn't go away. If anything, it thickens. Because behind the jokes, the style, the hashtags, the questions keep repeating. What are they? Why here? Why now? And as September deepens, the mood in New York shifts again. Less humor, less novelty, more unease, more expectation. Everyone begins to feel it, the sense that something larger is building. That the lights overhead are not random, not harmless, not done with this city. The culture can spin it 1,000 ways. But late at night, when you look out over the skyline and see a silent, glowing sphere hovering in the dark, No amount of memes or streetwear can change the way your chest tightens, because beneath the noise, the silence still waits. And you can't shake the feeling that the biggest moment hasn't even happened yet. It begins with a flicker. Friday night, late September, and the city is alive. Bars hum, theaters spill their crowds onto the streets, yellow cabs honk their way through Manhattan. And then, all at once, the lights shiver. At first, people laugh. New York power is always temperamental. But the flicker doesn't stop. It spreads. Block by block, borough by borough, entire swaths of the city sink into sudden blackness. The night of the blackout has begun. You feel it before you see it. The absence of hum, the absence of glow. New York without electricity feels naked, vulnerable. The skyscrapers vanish into silhouettes. The streets belong to shadows. But the real show isn't on the ground. It's in the sky. At exactly 9:17 p.m., the first craft appears. Not a faint light this time, not a shaky blur. A massive luminous sphere hovers directly above Central Park, so bright it turns the treetops silver. And then, more. Over Brooklyn, 3 triangular formations glide in perfect silence. Over Staten Island, a disk drifts slowly, casting a pale green glow across the harbor. Out over the Hudson, half a dozen orbs shift colors, red, blue, white, like a cosmic pulse. Everywhere at once. The blackout, you realize, isn't random. It's the stage. Phones still work. People record, upload, stream. Millions across the world watch live as New York becomes the backdrop for the largest UFO display in modern history. You see panicked voices. They're here. They shut us down to make themselves known. This is contact. Others shout in awe. Strangers hold hands in the dark, eyes lifted. For once, New Yorkers stop rushing, stop hustling. The city is unified, staring at the impossible. And then, the sound. Low, deep, resonant, a vibration more felt than heard. Windows rattle. Your bones hum. The objects begin to move in sync. Patterns drawn against the stars like ancient constellations come alive. The formations shift, merge, split again, over and over, as if writing a language in light no one can read. Some collapse to their knees, convinced it's divine. Others shout warnings, sprinting for cover. You just stand frozen, torn between fear and wonder. Because you can feel it. This is not random. This is intentional. Hours pass like minutes. The blackout stretches deep into the night. Emergency services stumble in the dark, but the objects keep performing their silent, impossible dance. A hush settles over the city, as if the world itself is holding its breath. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. At 2:03 a.m., the objects rise in unison, streaking upward until they vanish into the heavens. No sound, no trace, just gone. And at the very same moment, the power returns. The city blinks awake, neon flickers on, air conditioners roar back to life. But for those who watched, life doesn't feel the same. By dawn, the story is everywhere. Headlines scream across every outlet. New York blackout and UFO display stun millions. The night the city stopped. Contact or hoax, the world reacts. Officials remain silent, just as they have all summer. But silence can't bury this. Not when the whole world has seen. And you? You replay the night in your head, over and over. The way the lights moved, the way the city felt unified in awe and dread. You know what you saw, millions do. But the questions remain. Why New York? Why now? And what message was written in the sky that night? What warning? What invitation? You know the truth. The surge of sightings didn't end with the blackout. It began with it. Because once you've seen the sky right in fire, you never look at it the same way again. And in every faint flicker, every moving light, every shadow crossing the clouds, you wonder, are they still up there, waiting? So before you drift off, take a moment. Like this video, share it with anyone who needs to hear the story, and subscribe if you want more nights like this one. Because the sky above New York may look calm tonight, but you know better now, and the silence may not last.